Hello et bonsoir. Travail du chanson. Is the sound coming fine? If anyone is hearing? Saludos, Ben. ¿Cómo estás? Merci, ça fait plaisir. Yeah, everything is fine. Thanks for tuning in. Amazing. Thanks, everyone. Actually, I'm hearing myself through the microphone and I'm gonna go crazy. So as long as you guys confirm that it's all good, I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the monitoring. Microphone. Okay, hopefully everyone is still hearing everything fine. Cool. Muy bien, Ben. Que sí. Listen, I have like 5 sentences I can say in Spanish. I can understand Spanish, to be honest. Of course, I know your pseudos, Ben. You don't need to tell me. But it's good for everyone to know because I'm not sure how many have engaged with you from people who are here. But Ben and I have been talking a lot about a lot of theory stuff, like an insane amount of theory stuff. You know, if there was like a FF7 iceberg theory iceberg, I think that the stuff we talk about would be like really at the bottom of the iceberg. Some crazy stuff. Hey Josh, it's been a while. It's great to hear. Thank you so much for joining in. And I'm glad to hear you liked it. I mean, it did seem to... Let me just turn on the camera, by the way. Hey everyone. It's a very late stream for me. Obviously I don't stream that much. I really want to start doing it, but even when I do so, I usually stream like at 4, 5, 6 p.m. But now it's really quiet, so I'm trying to make sure this is kind of not too quiet for you guys. Whatever that means. Josh, thank you so much again. And yeah, I was saying that I kind of see that because I've seen people who are not generally on board with the things I talk about appreciate the video, which is, you know, a very good compliment. I think I try to answer some of the things that are on everyone's minds, even those who disagree, and it seems like people resonated with some of the claims being made by seeing how the structure was built through the, you know, backstory of Sephiroth and whatnot. So I'm really glad to see that kind of reaction. I was kind of it felt surreal at moments, to be honest. I try not to make it too big, but it really feels surreal when you see like thousands of people saying, hey, this is amazing, we really like this. We really like how much analysis, how much research you've done, and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's really very humble and very happy that happens, and that's really just what you want to receive as feedback, or what you want to feel when you share something you like with people who like the same thing, which is Final Fantasy VII stuff. So that's really what it's all about. Even when we all disagree on stuff, most important thing is that we try to end it on this note in the last video, which is, I feel that the things that unite us in Final Fantasy VII are much bigger than the things that divide us. And even within a world where there are so many polar opposites in literally every single field in life, I think it's good to turn to video games and realize that, hey, we can be together and like the same things for a moment. But of course, as Final Fantasy fans, we also find ways to disagree within the things we like. So that's just how life is. Hey, Jesse, nice to see you again. Master Gundam as well. At the depths of the iceberg, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ben. Listen, you know it's been a teamwork. We've talked a lot about this, so I just want to say thank you again for everything you've added to the perspective, especially Advent Children stuff. Thanks, Travail du Chanson, for sharing that. I'll make sure to check it out. Thanks a lot for tuning in. It's great to have people from all the different sides of Final Fantasy VII. So we will be looking at some of the comments. So this is what I had planned for today, which is really just to... So first of all, it's been 6 months. I'm actually going to walk you guys through the logic of why I wanted to do this stream. As I said, I usually don't do that much in terms of streams. Thanks a lot, Jesse. Really appreciate it. There are a couple of things coming up. I will actually talk about those in a minute. Yeah, it's a great idea to give you guys an idea of what are some of the things I believe should be explored in Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth as we wait for Part 3, of course, which we know is never going to be announced at this rate. I was just saying that, so my channel officially, if you go and look it up on YouTube, has been there since 2015 or something, but I only started making videos until 2025, obviously, in August. So actually the first video that, this is not a sequel one, was posted on August 7th. So technically, as I was saying, this is our 6 months anniversary on the channel for everyone who has subscribed since then. Thanks a lot once again. And I also realized that first video has just hit 50k views today while I was drafting this, which is, again, insane to me. I never imagined that this would hit that much. And so the idea was to sit down, reflect a bit on those 6 months, because I personally learned a lot. And I hope that some of you who have watched both videos, the first and the second one, realize that, hey, there's been like this guy had went back and tried to do his homework. This is what I tried to do now. I'm not sure it came across that way, but I hope it did. Yeah. Can't wait to finally fly the Highwind. The thing is that they've been talking about the Highwind so much. Like, Hamaguchi is almost hyping us up about the Highwind in a way which is, you almost go, I hope it's not going to be disappointing. It's crazy. And the biggest thing I believe was how to land, how much flexibility are you going to get. I think I'm personally very positive, because seeing how much thought they put into a lot of things which I was not expecting them to in Rebirth, like the mini games, like the literally you play I don't know, 80% of the game or 70% of the game, and then you get the tiny Bronco, and finally the ocean opens up and you have all this kind of stuff to discover. I still feel they could have made more, but yeah, it still felt like a Final Fantasy moment. That especially the PS1 era, I believe, it has this moment where you get a means of transportation, and then the whole game freaking opens, and you're like, oh my god, I did not realize that this thing was this big. And it felt like that with the tiny Bronco in Rebirth, although we expected that in a way, right? So the reason I'm saying this is because of that, I'm kind of positive on how they will handle the Highwind, because I think they've been great at keeping at meeting our expectations, and even giving us surprises of things that we were not expecting at all when it comes to things that are not necessarily in the story, right? The Highwind, this kind of stuff, I really expect them to do well. Yeah, exactly, Ben. I mean, they've been propping it up. Like, did Hamaguchi say that the keyword for Part 3 is literally Highwind? Come on. That's crazy. That's insane, right? The first one was Bonds. The first one was Reunion. The second one was Bonds. So you're telling me the Highwind is literally on the same level as those two themes? It means that it's very important story-wise, at the very least. So that's also something to take into account. Yeah, I agree, Josh. I think the weapons and the Highwind and you know the set piece side of it all is something that they are definitely exploring. Now I don't know how many of you have played Skies of Arcadia. It's a game that is very, very dear to my heart. It's something that I played when I was probably like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, wherever. And it really stayed with me because, you know, RPGs when you're a kid, I just feel like there's a special connection. And one of the things with Skies of Arcadia, obviously spoiler free, is that you have these ship battles, which I'm sure are present in a lot of other games. But within Skies of Arcadia, you also have, you basically fight very big, let's say, beings or entities, which you could actually compare to the weapons in a way in Final Fantasy VII. Those who have played Skies of Arcadia might know what I'm talking about. They're called the Gygas, I believe. And so you fight them from the ship, and it always felt, well, it's still a very tactics kind of thing where it's turn-based and you have a lot of tactics to it. But it's still super, super unique in the way they did that. Yeah, it was on the Dreamcast, exactly. And I've been trying to find something that replicates that since then. And Skies of Arcadia in general, I find it a very... I don't know if it's unique, but it was special. You know, when you look at what it was doing, it wasn't doing something completely different to like Final Fantasy VII. And I'm personally not someone who has played a million JRPGs over the years, so I'm not going to be able to say it is the one game that did a lot differently. But I still feel that it was special. Maybe because it was, you know, different to the PS1 and whatnot. I don't know. Please release Dreamcast games. Please give us Skies of Arcadia on... I don't care. I mean, I know it was released on the GameCube, and I think I played it on the GameCube as well. But we need that stuff in modern form. Whatever that form is. We just need that modern stuff in modern form. That stuff in modern form. Yeah. So actually, I don't know if this is going to be spoiler free for Skies of Arcadia, those who haven't played it, but actually it might be a good idea to look at those fights to tell you guys what I'm talking about when it comes to the Highwind. By the way, the stream is stable for now. I've been trying to keep YouTube going while I talk, and you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So if something happens, I'm sorry guys, I'm going to try to restore things, but let's hope everything is fine, right? This is really literally the first time I do something like this. I absolutely want a full remake as well. Has to be something like those games need to be revisited, right? And you know, you think about millennials who have a lot of money to spend on video games currently and what they like. I think this is why you're seeing this wave of remakes naturally, but I feel like there is more stuff that they can explore. So that was actually Skies of Arcadia. I would say maybe the blue guy, so spoilers for those who still want to play Skies of Arcadia. I don't know how. Maybe you still want to play it, but spoilers. So this is what I'm talking about. Probably gotta stop the music. Oh, there you go. You guys remember this? Man, that was cool. This is the blue guy's Blueheim. I really don't remember the names. Just remember it was the blue guys. Beleza. Yeah, anyway, so this is just this cutscene, whatever. And this is where the battle really happens. So if we're thinking Highwind, I'm thinking it's not impossible that they go something like this. Where I don't know if it's going to be as much strategy as this. Just removed that. Music was super annoying. But you could go with something where you're literally fighting the weapons from the Highwind like this, with the Highwind itself, right? And then, I don't know, after that you have some actual party fights with them. It can really go in a lot of different ways. And so I don't know how much inspiration they would get from Final Fantasy 16, which was absolutely insane. I haven't finished the game yet, but I've seen how insane it was in terms of the Akon fight, the Was it the Akon's in? Yeah, Akon's fight. And so they might also want to integrate some of those, I don't know, influences or whatever on the fights with the weapons and treat them as like full-fledged cutscenes or set pieces. Let's put it that way. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff there with the Highwind. And exploration-wise, obviously, it's going to be a lot. So let me actually then go to what we really wanted to do, right? Which is start looking at some of the comments. Was there anything else I wanted to chat about? I'm trying to remember. No, I think that was it. Right. So here's how I'm going to do this. So I tried to answer every single comment as much as possible. Now, maybe I was not able to do it for every single one. But the idea is that I will still try to go through those, which maybe I haven't answered, maybe highlight a couple for you, which seems to have some interesting stuff behind them. Is everything coming through fine in terms of the, you know what, I'm just going to go and zoom in a bit here because I don't think you guys are able to see the comments very clearly. Okay. What's going on with this? Right, because it's locked. There you go. Okay. Maybe this is better. I believe so. Right, so we're sorting by top, just going to the most liked ones, obviously. So there's obviously a lot of love. Let me just go through the ones that I feel had some interesting discussion points. I'm trying to keep up with chat too. Oh, amazing. Intermission episode, Zack Rebirth. Right at the end of Rebirth with Zack. Okay. Well, let me pause here, and actually, I'm curious. So, how do you think, like, what's the general direction you're thinking? Although if you want to keep it spoiler-free, I mean, I'm happy to keep it that way, and then I can check it out. But I'm just curious, because with Zack, it's really a case of, it's a question that is thrown around a lot, of what purpose is he serving in the remake and, well, in Rebirth eventually? And more importantly, is he more important to Cloud's journey, or does he actually have a role to play in the overall planet crisis? And, you know, they're not mutually exclusive, obviously. Cloud's journey and the planet's crisis go hand in hand. But how does he achieve it? Does he directly get involved with the Aerith Sephiroth fight, or does he only help Cloud and then eventually Cloud saves the planet as he does? Okay, Jesse. You know what? You know why that's interesting? It's because in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Ultimania, they said, I believe it was Kitase who said that they were trying to circumvent expectations going into part 2. So they knew that we knew that we should go to the 30 Nibelheim flashback first, and that we were expecting the game to start in calm. However, they went, you know what? That's not going to happen. We're going to surprise you. And they were very open about it and said, we specifically wanted to put the Zack sequence there so that you start a bit differently and throw players off. Which is, I'm not going to say disappointing, but when you look at how much importance is given to the first Zack scene, you're like, oh my god, this game is going to go in all sorts of different directions. However, when it comes down to it, after Chapter 1, I think you only get to see Zack again after at least 4 or 5 chapters. When we get to Coral, right? So we go and we go through the swamps, and then we go through the Mithril Mine, and we go through Junon, and we go through the ship. And we go through Coral. And it's only when we get to the summit, when we beat Scarlet and her thing, that we are able to then again go to the Zack side of things, which was kind of surprising. But then obviously from then onwards, you start seeing Zack more. I just found that very, very, yeah, I don't know, weird. Very intentionally wanted to throw us off. So Aerith is alive in the Terrier world, but he's trying to help Cloud. But in the meantime, Zack is trying to save the Terrier world and awaken Aerith. The beginning starts where Angeal appears to him on the church and sends him on a long journey. Okay. That sounds very interesting. I would say in theme, with what we've been seeing from Zack. Right, Jesse, yeah, because part 2 demo did not feature any Zack stuff, right? They just had us thinking it was only the Nibelheim flashback, and then boom, you're playing as Zack from the first minute. Oh, pretty cool. I like that Zack has his own party. So, like, when he finds himself in the Terrier world, does he go to the Shinra building to look for Console and everyone else? Is that how you were imagining it? But it's a pretty cool idea. Man, that intermission ended. That intermission ended. We need answers. Ben, we need answers. We need answers to this. I swear, listen. So I've been one of the people who I'd like to think that I was very positive in terms of how I evaluate the games, and I'm always saying, hey, I really trust that they know what they're doing, especially when you see some of the stuff they've been prepping for from before part 1 even began. I hope we do. I hope that's it. At the same time, I want to be surprised. But if so knowing that, if part 3 ends and this is not referenced, I mean, it's not explained at all, even indirectly, it is a problem. I don't think they will do that. But I think people have gotten to a point now where this scene is being used almost as a caricature of how they're opening a lot of threads and still not closing any, which I think is a bit unfair because obviously we're only 50, 60, 70% through the story, not even 70%, 50, 60 at max. So it's kind of unfair to say that, but people are kind of waiting. Like there's been an expectation on this specific scene. And I know Schrodinger's Baby Seal has asked about it in one of the events. And Ben, we've spoken about it. Hamaguchi was like, I'm not answering this. And he gave an answer which was completely disconnected from the question. And, you know, it's weird because usually even when they want to throw you off, they still say something, right? Angel tells him to seek his roots and go back to his hometown, then go to Cosmo Canyon to find answers why the rift is in the sky. That looks a lot like Cloud's journey to me. Zack is able to call Tsung, and since Tsung and Zack are close, Tsung agrees to keep Elmira's house secure while he's away. I believe that makes sense. Okay, Jesse, that's are you saying that in an optimistic way, as in it's not needed, or are you saying it as in I don't trust them to do it? I would disagree with a second. I think they will close that thread. And you know why? I will tell you why I think they will close that thread. There are a couple of things that are interesting. Oh.
Listen.
I want to showcase this. Okay, so keep this in mind. Do we see him stand in? Do we have a shot of him stand in? Well, you know what? I'm just going to use this. Right? I'm going to pause here. And I'm going to drop something else. Let me just get another very, very interesting piece of footage that we can get from somewhere else. You know they would do that, Ben. I'm struggling to get this up and running for some reason. I knew that I couldn't trust this 100% to be, to go all the way in terms of opening and adding new stuff. But okay, maybe I can add it from here. Hopefully you guys are still hearing me fine. So we do have the YouTube one I'm pulling up. Okay, it's this one. You know what this looks like to me?
He'll come back. He said that he would.
Oh my god, I'm struggling for my life here. Between windows. This shot and this shot give me similar vibes. Do you guys see what I see? Do you guys, am I just over analyzing it, or is there an implied connection between the two? Now, finding the connection itself is obviously going to be complicated because then you need to explain and justify it. But my idea is that this Zack that we see here could be eventually the one that gets resolved in terms of that's the one who leaves with Aerith. And that those are the ones who help Cloud in Advent Children, and he accepts, well, he moves on and he lets go of the guilt at least for a moment, and then that's it. I think that those two, there is an association between the two. By the way, the church design is insanely different. Like, it's literally not the same place. But anyways, yeah, it's definitely intentional. Yep, Livestream White. And literally, I mean, Zack and Cloud have been linking up in Livestream White, right? Okay, let me catch up. It's Zack's journey. Cloud is in comatose in the Terrier world. Zack and Cloud have separate journeys. I agree. I am not a big fan of the idea of them, of Zack replacing Cloud. I think they will meet again because Cloud needs to come to terms with Zack's death. But I don't think that there will be a case of Zack literally replaces Cloud. It's one of those which sounds good on paper, but once you analyze it, you're like, a bit difficult. Jesse, you're saying you're not pessimistic, right? So it's just going to be left to players' interpretation, which is very possible. I think they could go that way for sure. It's really going to depend on how the worlds are resolved. I guess the problem we have with this Zack scene is that we don't know where it stands in terms of the dream worlds, the even the time span. We literally don't know when this scene is taking place. Now, this is not to say that we know when the Terrier world is taking place either, because if you look at the Chihuahua logic, it's implied that the Aerith who is there is from the future, right? To a very large extent. So if you assume that the Aerith who appears in the Chihuahua world is from the future, makes you wonder why the Zack who appears in Terrier is not from the future as well. And what does future even mean when we are talking about all of those people being in the live stream anyways? Yeah. I'm back. And then he waves goodbye. But Ben, you know, what we spoke about a lot is what we don't know is why does Zack not remember, or yeah, is it implied that Zack does not remember having Cloud with him here? I think this is the biggest question mark, right? That is still kind of makes this scene very, very weird. He clearly is looking for Aerith, but we don't know why he doesn't have Cloud with him. Yeah, he's not affected by Genova, I agree. But then he's also dead. So he's not affected by Genova, I would argue, in the sense that he can't be manipulated like, or his image can't be used maybe like Glenn, right? Maybe that's how we can make the parallel with Genova. Josh, you're saying that we will 100% see a lot of live stream chaos, by the way. 100%, I fully agree. You know, I feel that part 3, they will... So I do feel that it will all converge back. So we will converge back to whatever the OG looked like at the end, right? However, before they do that, we will go into directions which will make us question if this is literally the same game, the same story or not. And this is, I believe, where they really want to circumvent our expectations again. But I think that will play until maybe the last 10% is when they will really come back to what we know. And we will go, oh, okay, so this is how they tie it in again, right? We said that a lot in Rebirth. Like I believe the dream sequence, where the one in the forest, not the one at the beginning of the chapter, the one in the forest when he meets Aerith and Sephiroth respectively, or Sephiroth and Aerith, we were like, oh, okay, this is how that happened, right? In a way. Yeah. Listen, I don't think they need to flesh it out and say this is exactly what was intended with it. But I think that at the very least, we need to have mechanics or ground rules in place that explain, first of all, what a dream world is. That's really the question that I have on my mind. Now listen, we all have theories, right? In Bunkai, I mean, you know all the theories we have. Like, you guys probably, a lot of you, I hope a lot of you have seen my first video. If you have not, I encourage you to do that. But I believe that a lot of the dream world stuff and the mysteries are really dependent on or linked to Cloud's identity crisis. I would say, so now actually we can reflect on the 6 months ago thing. So 6 months ago, some background, I only finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in January 2025, which is very, very late on the PS5. I did not even wait for PC or anything, but I did not have access to a PS5. I was moving country, so I was not really able to engage with any Final Fantasy stuff. And I literally went on a social media hiatus for a year since the last trailers to be able to avoid spoilers. Thankfully, I did. But then it also meant that when I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but I was kind of looking at things in a completely different way than the conversations that were being had online. And I feel it helped me personally, but it also means that when I was like, okay, I really like this thing and I want to make some videos about it and talk to people about it because there is a lot theory-wise to talk about. It also meant that I was in a completely different side of things. But it's only when I got active on X again that I realized that, okay, there are people on the other side as well. So it's kind of balanced. It's still a conversation. But I was under the impression the very first few weeks where that video was posted that I was literally part of the 0.1% or something like that. Thankfully not. And so this is how it really started. And so that first video was kind of very, very much on the, so it would be on the extreme of the spectrum that this is all about Cloud. So if there is a spectrum of it is all about him and none of it is about him, that first video was really, I would say, a 10 out of 10 on that side, or maybe a 9 out of 10. Today, after doing a lot of research, replaying Remake and Rebirth again, looking at the FF DOG and all the stuff in the compilation, and looking at a lot of theory stuff and discussing with people online, I would say that the second video, which was not really focused on Cloud, moved me a bit more from the 10 out of 10 or the 9 out of 10 on the spectrum that this is all about Cloud to more of a 5 or 6 or maybe 4 out of 10, right? So I'm closer to the middle. But the thing is, I'm still not in the middle where I'm saying this could be about Cloud or others. I'm really still in the case of saying a lot of this, if not everything, is about him. And thematically just makes sense, because I think we take for granted the fact that FF7 is about Cloud and we're like, okay, we already know that. Let's, show me something else. There's nothing else to show. That's really what it is. That's really what FF7 is. It's a story of someone. It's a story about someone finding their identity and with the help of their friends, being able to find their true self. And I don't want to say that the planet's crisis does not matter in that equation, which is what I think is the idea that a lot of people run with. But I do feel that it's a very individual, experience-oriented game. It's almost as if it tells you what matters in life is for you to focus on yourself. The world is not necessarily going to be fine or not fine. The world will be what it is, but the biggest thing, the best thing you can do for the world is to actually focus on yourself. And so that's why I really appreciate the view of how individual the story is to Cloud. Hey Ocean, very nice to see you here. Thanks for joining. It's been great to chat on Twitter, by the way. X. Keep forgetting it's X. It's still Twitter. Right, so Zack is in another world. We spoke about him not being affected by Genova, right? But he says before he goes into the church. Well, Jesse, I don't know about the cross in the church. I did read some stuff about it. But we have to remember that, first of all, this is pre-rendered, right? Pre-rendered. This is a rendered. So this is CGI. CGI, yeah, is basically what I mean. And so I don't know if that means that we can just I don't know how much importance we can give to that, given the fact that it can be simply different because it's rendered, and the other stuff is obviously run in-game, and so it's kind of different. So I don't know how design-wise we can make that conclusion with certainty. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would just say we have to be careful in terms of interpreting that kind of stuff with the amount of differences that could be there design-wise. Right. Yeah, I agree, Jesse. It's been great to disagree with people. It's been not great to disagree with other people. I think that it's really about the attitude. I don't really care if someone is saying, hey, this is FF7 2 or 5, or this is FF7 8, right? Or whatever. 8 is my favorite game, by the way. But it doesn't matter as long as the attitude is like, none of us knows. And let's look at all the different views. And even if you don't want to look at the other views, I think the best thing one person can do is just focus on what they like about the game, and then that's it. What I'm not going to say don't like, but what I find a bit problematic is just this need to go and dig out bad stuff in someone else's views. Be it in terms of theory crafting, be it in terms of shipper stuff, be it in terms of... we're all fans of the game. All of us on these groups and sides. And so if you want to go and find bad stuff in anyone's view, you will go and find bad stuff in anyone's view. And you will just run with it, and you will make them look the way you want to make them look. So it's really better to just focus on what you like and what you don't like. So I fully agree there. It's great, Travail du Chanson, to... So I know some people discard the compilation. I think there is no chance at all that it's going to be discarded. I mean, it's literally the basis for Remake. And I think there is a lot... Ever Crisis is a goldmine of content. Oh, when I say Ever Crisis, I mean the First Soldier. So the First Soldier is a goldmine of stuff. Do you can you guys imagine? Can you guys... Look, I'm straying way too far from what I was planning to do, but listen. It's an FF7 chat at the end of the day, right? Fast is our savior every single time when it comes to the First Soldier stuff, and so we're gonna look at some of his videos. I'm not gonna look for too much. I just want to show you a couple of things. Episode 2. The chapter 2, yeah, episode 2, right? So it's episode 2. So, do you guys realize how big this stuff is? Not Sephiroth with a crystal on the top of his head. Do you guys realize how crazy this stuff is in the context of Remake? I think that until today, we still don't realize. So I tried to put it in the Sephiroth video just to show the link between the two. But a lot of people don't like the fact that it's hidden in a gacha game. I know that. This is insane in terms of how it relates to FF7 Remake. The Will of the Planet, Genova stuff, the Void Demon, whatever. All this kind of stuff. Absolutely. FF7 is about Cloud. Okay, so when we expand... Well, I mean, it's natural that in the compilation it's not going to be about Cloud necessarily. So Dirge of Cerberus is not about Cloud, right? But I believe... and Crisis Core is not about Cloud either. I mean, part of it is. But I believe that FF7, Core FF7, as in, when I say Core FF7, it means both OG and Remake, because I still believe them to be the same thing. I believe that Core FF7 and Advent Children are 95% about Cloud. So when we say the compilation, oh my god, this song is just goes so hard, so I gotta turn it down a bit so that we're able to focus. But when I say I lost my train of thought, but basically you can't have... So Cloud, yeah, this is what I want to say. So if Cloud is sane, as in he was healthy, FF7 doesn't happen. I don't think we realize how important Cloud was both to creating the problems in FF7 and fixing them. You know why I say this? Because him being manipulated, being the puppet of Jenova and Sephiroth is what led to the planet's crisis in FF7. Now listen, Jenova was always there in the background, in the live stream and whatnot. Absolutely. Was it going to be that way? I don't think so. And the proof is that she's been there for 2,000 years. Why was she not able to do what she was able to do before Cloud and obviously Sephiroth fell into the live stream, more importantly? So Cloud literally creates the crisis in FF7 because he's literally just weak, unfortunately. And he also solves it. So even when we talk about, I hear a lot that we can't just reduce this to Cloud's journey and perception and consciousness and him finding his true self, which okay, fine. But even when you look at the planet's crisis, he is the cause and the solution to it. Right? And so we need to keep that in mind when we look at this kind of stuff. Hello, Husho. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I hope I pronounced the pseudo well. Thanks a lot for finding this awesome. It's great to have you. It's a very chill FF7 stream. The idea was to actually look at some of the comments, which I hope we're still going to be able to do. But for now, we are just going through some specific points that are interesting going into part 3. Faz is the absolute GOAT. And Curious Corduroy as well. Sorry if I'm butchering the name, but yeah. So they confirmed for First Soldier that episode 2 was going to be the last one of young Sephiroth's story. Right, there was Sephiroth, Angeal, Genesis, and Zack. I do wonder how much content you have to say, how much stuff you have to show for an Angeal, maybe Angeal, but for a Genesis backstory. So if they do an Angeal and Genesis episode, I think it's going to be the same, right? You know why I say that? Because Angeal and Genesis's upbringing is supposed to convey, to show you how, their differences lead to their journeys in a way. And so I do think that if there is something more in terms of Angeal and Genesis, it would be one thing where it's not something like Sephiroth versus Angeal, which was very, very Sephiroth leaning and where Sephiroth was literally crazy, but something where, again, it portrays the two different experiences. Yeah. I hope they make it into a console game one day. I think it's hard because, so what we forget is that if you go back to, so if we go to Faz's channel, for example, right, and we look at, it's probably going to be in one of his top playlists. Oop. Sorry, no. So if you look at this one, so what I'm trying to say is, how many story chapters do we have for OG FF7? So we have 9, right? So that is, I don't know, an hour, I would say, on average, per maybe a bit less. So that's 9 hours. And we are already at the end of Rebirth, I believe, right? So that's when Aerith basically dies. So this is how how much stuff they covered in OG. So they obviously didn't do every single thing. So if you take this content and you want to get to the OG, you have to expand a lot. But the OG already exists, obviously. Now, if you want to go and do the same for Ever Crisis, for the First Soldier, that's where the problems will be. I don't think it's going to be feasible for them to go and expand that game so much that it becomes an entry on its own. And maybe this is the reason why they decided, you know what, we have all this kind of stuff that we have in mind in terms of explaining how Sephiroth's story is and how all of that plays potentially into Remake, Rebirth, and whatnot. So let's just make it small episodes, small chapters, so that it's bite size, much easier to develop, much easier to consume for people. And we have this great repository of all FF7 stories that people can turn to. And I think it works well. But to get from that to a console game, I think it needs to be a full game. And I think the assets maybe are there from Remake and Rebirth, but yeah, is there enough financial logic behind it to pursue it, right? Could I play Highwind Take to the Skies? I promise I will do... Well, actually, I can. Hold on. Why am I saying no? I'm not saying no to say no. It's because my current music is playing through a local file. And by the way, check out TPR. I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, know who it is. Absolutely amazing piano covers. It's the ones that I've been using in the second video, Sephiroth video, and it's the ones that I've been using today. And it's, you know, I don't know, there's something about piano and FF7, especially OG, that just captivates me much better than other styles. Even sometimes some songs are even better than the original versions, although obviously Nobuo Uematsu is the GOAT. So that is... Yeah, just Highwind Takes to the Skies. I didn't realize that that's what it was called. Let's do it. Oh, okay. That was too loud. You guys let me know if the sound is fine. The volume is fine. Yeah, Bunkai. I mean, it could. Because you know what? So people have been talking about Sephiroth appearing in the opening part of segment of part 3, but more like the Ever Crisis stuff. And I'm like, it's still Cloud's story. I mean, it's incorporating stuff from Sephiroth's backstory all the way into a first, second chapter potentially is, I feel like it's a step too far. However, falling into the live stream after the Nibelheim reactor makes perfect sense, because that is at the core of the FF7 crisis. So that would be perfectly in theme or in character for me. But doing something where we see him like the Rosen sequence or something like that, first, it's already there in a mobile game, so I don't know how much you can add. Although we all agree that we would have loved to see it in a different way. And two, it takes away some of the focus, and it really makes it very, very, very Sephiroth focused. The lady monsters. So I played DOG in French. Let me check out the lady monsters. And my memory when it comes to the later parts of FF7 OG is very, very kind of hazy. Are they called lady monsters or they have a different name? Yeah. So you could start with Sephiroth, Angel, and Genesis, but here's the catch. Here's a counterpoint to it. When you start with Zack, one, it's relevant to the FF7 story, the core story. Two, mechanics-wise, Zack is not very far from Cloud. So you do get your tutorial while playing Zack, but at the same time, you will still get some use out of that because you will be playing as Cloud. So it's not really a problem, right, in that sense. If you start with Angel, Genesis, and Sephiroth, it's kind of pretty big departure, right? Yes, I do speak French. I'm not French. I'm from a French-speaking country, but I'm from a country that does speak French. Put it that way. But I do, yeah. I thought my... Okay, yeah, I do believe music is too loud. I'm not surprised by that because I can see it here. So I was just curious to hear if you guys are experiencing it the same way. But we'll switch it up in a way, in a minute. Okay, cool. Thanks, Hosho. So after finishing our Highwind requests, let's go back to TPR's versions, which are absolutely mesmerizing. No way. Roland, are you really Quebecois? Wow. The amount of people who are like physically close to each other that have close to me where I live is crazy. Because, you know, Fungi film reviews is, we realized very recently that we are literally in the same city. I don't know if he's still here, but we realized, like, we were literally arguing on X. And then one day, I don't know, he posted something regarding the city. I was like, hey, what the hell? It's great to hear. So I am new to, I don't live in Quebec. I live in Ontario, but I'm new to the area in general. I'm still struggling a bit with le français québécois, but I am able to understand most of it when I really focus. But I'm still struggling with it. I don't think I could work in French here as much as I would be able to work in English in this country. But hey, that's what it is. Okay, nice to know. Travail du chanson. That's great to hear. So I'm not sure, Ryu, what you're. Sorry if you can walk me through the question, because are you talking about something specific that will be different? Are you wondering whether a specific part will be different, or whether it will all just get resolved the same way? Right, so in the meantime, we actually need to go and check what we promised to do today, right? Which was to look at a couple of comments, which I found very interesting, and just generally, you know, reflect on what people's thoughts were on the last Sephiroth video. As I said, the idea was to, I do understand how people were a bit more welcoming towards this one, because obviously it strays not too far from the general questions that people have been asking, theory-wise, in terms of Final Fantasy VII. I don't know whether everyone liked the ending, in the sense that it still means Advent Children happens. So I guess that's the big point of contention. But the thinking is, how can you make sure that the story is the same while Advent Children is still canon? So that was the idea behind the video. And it came from looking at Sephiroth's story rather than the reverse, right? When looking at Sephiroth's story is when you get this idea of, oh, listen, there are a couple of different things going inside of him. And so that's how we were able to look at that thread. But I do understand how people were like, oh, if it just leads to Advent Children again, was the point? Which I completely disagree with, but hey, what can you do? Zack is in the Terrier world and does have an idea what is going on. And in the main timeline, he's trying to save the Terrier world. Can you walk me through that again? I'm struggling to. So basically, Zack's objective is to save the Terrier world, is what you mean? Absolutely, Ben. Absolutely. You know, there's this analogy that I was saying a few months ago on X, which is that Final Fantasy VII OG takes you from London to New York through the Atlantic, and Remake takes you from London to New York, but it travels east. And I'm sure you can find some technical issues in that analogy, but that's how I would portray the journey being different. Yeah. So I'm not familiar with the movie, but looking at mimicking all this kind of stuff that you're mentioning, for sure, I wouldn't be surprised, right? So what I do think will happen with Cloud is that, and with Bunkai, we've been talking about this a lot, so, and this is where a lot of people disagree. So you have the Beagle world, you have the Terrier world, and you have Chihuahua, you have Corgi, and you have Pug. So far, this is what we know. The thing is, if you take the logic to the extreme, you could argue that the only tangible difference, which led to everything else being different in Terrier, not necessarily in terms of causation, but at least from the personal experience of play of characters, is that Zack did not die. So Terrier is, you could think of Terrier as literally a world built on Zack not dying. And you could infer that Zack not dying led potentially to Biggs not dying because Cloud did not meet him. I know this is a stretch because the other members of Avalanche died, but maybe they only needed to show us one. It doesn't matter. If we only focus on Zack not dying, you then wonder how Zack not dying is important to the fate of the planet. So this is where people go, he will replace Cloud, because I think the first logic that people think about is, if Zack is, let me just restart the music again. But if Cloud is basically nowhere to be found, then someone has to step in and do the job, and that would be Zack. So I think this is where the appeal for people is in terms of Zack replacing Cloud. But the thing is, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, because we are assuming that Cloud will not be there in the Beagle world, which he might or might not be. The other question is, where does Cloud land once he basically loses it in the Beagle world? Are the worlds linked in a way where Cloud's consciousness travels from one world to the other? I don't want to give spoilers for the next video, but this is basically one of the main things we should try to think about. I think Zack lives inside of Cloud. So this is where we need to change how we think about Zack. So because of the multiverse view, we think about Terrier Zack as another Zack. But he's not. The reason he's not is because he meets Biggs. So Zack and Biggs are part of the same continuity of events. But the problem they have is that obviously their fates are different, but the time span or the time physics don't work, right? Zack is like, I literally just dropped Cloud off at Elmira's literally today. And Biggs is like, oh, a week ago we were blowing up reactors. So this doesn't work. And that paradox is basically breaks the notion of multiverse. So we shouldn't think of Zack as another version of Zack. We should think of this as a possibility of what Zack could have been if this has happened, but it's still conditional. It's still an imagined possibility in that way. And so when you think about imagined possibility and you think about the idea that he did not die in Terrier, and that's the one differentiator between Terrier and Beagle, potentially, and you see that Cloud is waking up sometimes, at times, in these worlds, and you see how there is emphasis on a soldier running with a Buster sword, how there's just a general confusion around Zack, right, in that sense, and the similarities with Cloud. You could go to a case where it's a possibility of what would have happened to Cloud if Zack was saved and did not die. And from then onwards, if this is all symbolic, you can think of that as a possibility of Zack within Cloud, rather than Zack objectively exists and does something elsewhere. And I think the proof of that is that the whole arc of Zack literally ends at the edge of creation with Cloud. So he doesn't do anything much other than that. And it's kind of weird, but this is really how it ends for him. And obviously he keeps running into the Shinra troopers every single time. Well, Rio, this is a good question, actually. You know why? Because when you look at the Beagle world, what happens at the edge of what happens at the Singularity is that you have a new world being created. You have Aerith saying, we will be changing ourselves and whatnot, whatever. And you also have a different version of the party ending in Terrier. KO, not knocked out, right? The only difference is Cloud. So you have a big portion of the party. Obviously, Vincent and Sid are not there because they were not with the party in the Singularity. But they're all KO and Shinra takes them. And they are still marked as survivors. Sorry. And so that is something to keep in mind when talking about will they meet their different versions of themselves. I don't think you will meet the same character twice. You will find the same character twice in the same world. Has that happened? It hasn't happened at all, right? I don't think that would happen. I do think that depending on the world you are in, certain people will be alive and others will be dead, which is, I think, what is happening. So I don't think that when the worlds are merged, you find two sides of people, of characters. And by the way, thank you so much for asking this question, because something just came to mind, which is that when the worlds were merged at the Forgotten Capital at the end of Rebirth, we only saw one. So the only impact of the merging of the worlds was that Cloud was in two worlds. The party were in one world. Well, you could argue Aerith was alive and dead, but it was literally her same body. We didn't have two Aeriths. It was just her, and we were looking at her from two different perspectives. We had Zack coming from another world. So literally the only impact of that is that Cloud was in a different world, and at times being brought to the Prime world, if we assume that that's the one where she dies, which I'm sure it is. So literally the only impact of merging the worlds was that Cloud was in two of them. And if that doesn't make us doubt how any of these worlds are objective to the planet rather than being about Cloud's identity crisis, I don't know what will. Josh, I did check it out. I have to go through it in detail because I know that was a long one and I wanted to give it a thought. If we do have time, maybe we'd like to check it out today, right? It's the bleed-in livestream theory. Do I have that correct? Yeah, Bunkai. I mean, yeah, and you know, as soon as the boundaries are there and you don't see two Clouds walking out from there, it's not a multiverse anymore, which is, I guess, what you were trying to say, right? A multiverse would mean that you literally have one Cloud who saves Aerith and one Cloud who doesn't. And I don't know how it works in the multiverse. I'm not a big fan of the mechanics behind it, but I do wonder how much we have multiverses merging in other works, in other stories. I don't remember seeing that, but I mean, you usually have like stakes being on a meta level, but yeah, whatever that means. Yeah, all worlds are within the live stream, and we need to define what a world is. And it's very tightly linked to memories at the same time. So that's where it becomes very, very difficult. Sure, I'll do. Thanks a lot for sharing that Travail du Chanson. I'll check it out. Hey, Brian. Nice to see you here too. It was a great chat yesterday on Fungi Film Reviews' stream. So, yeah, Little Pockets sitting on the outskirts of the live stream's main flow. I think it's a good way to put it. I guess the only question I have is how objective are they? You know, I still think about Zack's role and how he does need to keep Aerith and to save her. But other than that, I mean, he literally only serves helping Cloud. And by the way, I'm not sure if you guys saw this detail, but let me tell you why I think the Terrier world is not done. Oh. That is here. I don't know how easy it is to see it in the cutscene, but we saw some models. So if you go and you look at Zack's world, which is Terrier, what is happening here is that this world is called... Where's the stamp? Nope. Zack, are you going to show us the stamp that is behind you? Okay, there you go. right? So if you go and look at this, there is a stamp poster here, right? Okay, I probably need to zoom out so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. That'd be a good idea. Okay. Amazing technical proficiency in the very first stream. Thanks for being patient, everyone. But if you look at this poster here, which it's very hard to see here. It says temporarily closed Terrier. There you go. Actually, yeah, it's much better here. It's a temporarily closed Terrier, which is very sus. Because why would it be temporarily closed? It doesn't make sense, does it? All the others are basically just Beagle, Pug, Corgi. I do think you have a Beagle in Junon, a temporarily closed Beagle in Junon. However, that is the same one that was where there was that confusion about two stamps within the same world. I don't know if you guys remember the one that was patched out, but in Junon you had a little Terrier stamp version and a little Beagle stamp version in the same space. So this is why I think that this world is not done. And obviously the fact that he literally needs to save Cloud, which is what needs to happen. Do you think Gaia brought back all characters because Sephiroth broke time and that is the last resort? Gaia marshaled all its resources to bring people from all worlds to save Gaia by conversion? Well, it doesn't look like a Terrier. So, the thing is, if you believe in the sequel theory, this is the thing that would make the most sense. So, if you believe in the sequel theory, then you need to understand, or you need to assume, that all of it is literally just spirits or memories of characters being brought back in the live stream, and it's literally a live stream simulation. Because here's the problem I have with it. So OG happens. 2 years later, Advent Children happens. 1 year later, Dirge of Cerberus happens. 500 years in the future, Red 13 is wearing his cups and the world is fine and whatever. The sequel theory assumes that after these events, possibly before the 500 years, flash forward maybe, the sequel theory assumes that after the Dirge of Cerberus events, something happens and the planet is in crisis again, and this time needs to get rid of Genova for good. Right? The thing is, you can only experience, if you are Cloud, let's assume that you are Cloud, how are you going to experience the bomb in mission again? I'm trying to go to the very rudimentary, basic sense of it. It might seem quite silly at the beginning, but this is really just trying to push the logic to the extreme. If you are Cloud Strife, and you are, this is literally 5 years after Dirge of Cerberus, for example, and Remake is taking place there, how are you going to experience again the bombing mission, the calm stuff, the Midgar stuff and everything, the whole story? The only way for you to do that is either to be unconscious somewhere and dreaming of all of this, or for you to fall into the live stream. I'm not saying this is relevant to Cloud only. I'm just giving you Cloud as an example. You could apply that to Barrett, Biggs, Chifa, whomever you want. The only way for that to happen is that the live stream is making a simulation, or Cloud is unconscious and dreaming all of this, which I'm not against. But basically, the other possibility is that this is all objectively happening in the live stream, and it's literally a simulation. So what does a simulation mean? It means that it's literally just going through memories and reconstructing them in a way to build a world based on the right memories or the right version of events. And it twists in memories as well. And so, trying to go back to the initial question, which is, do you think Gaia brought back all characters because Sephiroth broke time and whatnot, etc., etc.? This is the explanation that the sequel theory would need to come up with if it is actually a sequel. So this is why I struggle with it a bit, because you can see how the stakes are removed if this is literally all a simulation. And and at the same time, the personal experience of characters wouldn't necessarily be at the center of all of this if it is literally in the live stream. Do you see what I mean? No, Josh, it's not on you. I've just been slacking off a lot recently, but I promise I will check it out. Yeah, Roland, it is definitely the Terrier world. Hey. I'm S1... Okay. Well, hello, S1D3WYZ. So, Brian, I know you're on the train, or you're of the opinion that it's... I saw the analogy you said yesterday, which is amazing, by the way. It's a great one. You have a bookshelf, and you have a book which is the OG, and you have another book which is Remake. Some characters within the Remake book are able to peek into the OG book. That is an amazing analogy, by the way. And I can understand how that... So I am not against that idea. I think it works. My problem with it is, what is the story of FF7? My problem with it is, if they are both the same, if they are close enough, then it's just one book. It's just a reissue. If it's not the same book, if the story being told is different, my issue would be, I want to read the FF7 book. Which book should I pick from that shelf? Do you see what I mean? We need Zack and Sephiroth energy attack, not happening in a million years. Parallel continuities with knowledge of OG over... Yeah, I believe this is what you were implying as well, right? So, Roland, can you expand on what you mean happened in a world? Because does that mean that you think that OG is then just one of the worlds? Which I do have problems with, but I want to make sure that that's what you mean first. Oops. Yeah, Kobe, do you mean that this is one of the things that imply that this is taking place in the future? Because we can explain future visions by the live stream. I'm not sure if that's what you meant. Nice. The timeline where the Leafs win the cup is going to happen when Sephiroth gets a redemption arc and kills Genova himself. I don't know which one is likeliest, but they are tied to each other. So now you got to decide how likely it is for Sephiroth to do that. And you will infer. I see, Brian. Yeah. Listen, again, it works. My issue with it is kind of... Has any of it happened? So if there is one physical world and a million live stream worlds, the physical world has happened. If there are a million live stream worlds and no physical world, is any of it real? And I know, you could literally go into quantum physics with this, and it's probably beyond me, but it's plausible. But does it give the same impact to the story as what we know about it? Especially in a game like FF7 where we are it's literally about life, death, very, very consequential stuff. You see what I mean? Yes, Ben. To what you're saying, remember the VR simulation about the set tray, see the party flowing in the air, just like after crossing that barrier, yeah. Yeah, I do see that, and you see all of those streams changing the landscape and whatnot. But cloud flying after entering the singularity in chapter 18 is still very sus to me, and we spoke about it a lot, right? Is a compilation, and they are all part of the Ultimania. FF7R is a compilation, and they are all part of the Ultimania. I'm not getting that, but okay, I'll push the logic a bit forward so that I understand what that means. Okay, but so okay, it's not Gaia. It's Sephiroth trying to go back to fix his failure to manipulate Cloud and whatnot. Okay, that's fine. He is, after all, godlike, and livestream might allow for that. But again, there is a Cloud who is alive after Dirge of Cerberus, right? Unless he died in the year after. Maybe he did. But there is a Cloud who is alive after Dirge of Cerberus. How does Sephiroth go back to Fix the OG in the live stream relates to this cloud. You see what I mean? There is a surface level reality, which is the physical world, and that is what the cloud has experienced. There is the live stream where Sephiroth is still lingering, whatever. I think he's not there. I think it's the Genova will, but it could be. Now, Dirge isn't canon. Let's take Advent Children, right? I still think it's canon because I do think there is stuff referenced from Dirge in the compilation. Well, yeah, there's Deep Ground. So, but how does the cloud who has gone through Advent Children relate to what Sephiroth is doing in the live stream, if this is a sequel? This is the question that I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense. I'm trying to understand how one imagines it, because I'm unable to think of it concretely, if that makes sense. Oh, Roland, all the worlds have a physical place. Thank you so much. I am of the opinion that the worlds are literally separated by physical boundaries. And this means that Beagle might exist in all places, because I think there is one shot in Midgar for Beagle, right? And that is the SRC announcement with Glenn and whatnot. But Terrier can only exist in Midgar. I think the world where Aerith is saved can only exist in the Forgotten Capital. And that's potentially the world we visit in Advent Children. But these worlds being separated by what looks like physical boundaries should be the biggest hint of there is something wrong with the understanding we have of things here. Because it means that, first of all, they're not parallel, but we didn't need to go to this reasoning to understand that. But it also means that you can literally... So, I'm going to give you an example again. Cloud goes back to Midgar with the group. Bunkai, you're going to love this, right? Cloud goes back to Midgar with the group. And they... So, do they go from Terrier from Beagle to Terrier? Or are they still in Beagle? Right? Just to give you an example of the implication of that. I still think there is something to that. I absolutely think so. My conclusion from it is that the worlds, these are not dream worlds that are separate per se. These are fragments of memories tied to locations and places. So Terrier has the part of Cloud that he left behind in Midgar, which we could understand to be Zack, or the legacy of Zack. The Forgotten Capital has the part of Cloud that he has left in the Forgotten Capital, which is Aerith. Not necessarily him thinking that he is Aerith, obviously, for now. But the idea of trying to save Aerith and the link he has with Aerith and whatnot that he has left behind, which he revisits in Advent Children. And you could apply the same logic to Zack in Midgar. It's a fragment of memory, located within a place and tied to people, to Cloud's memories of people. Of course, they're just canon. Yeah, I think, I don't know if Yorl was joking, but... Well, yeah, Aerith mentions that the future... So, she doesn't say that the future has been written. She says, the future can be changed even if it has been written. Which is a nuance. It means that she's saying, even if you think the future has been changed, you should not give up. This is how I understand it. It doesn't mean that she's saying, there is a literal future that has been written and done, and we need to fight it, right? Just to kind of give a bit of a more context there. I think they will get Before Crisis in Ever Crisis. I think there was a lot of talk about it, and it would make a lot of sense. So, you know who knows a lot of Before Crisis stuff? Fungi Film Reviews again. He's absolutely very well versed in the compilation and especially Before Crisis. And he says that he sees a lot of Before Crisis in the remakes. I was not lucky enough to be around these parts of the FF7 fandom when Before Crisis was a thing. I don't think it was exclusive to Japan, right? So I don't really know what the stuff there is. Other than what I saw on YouTube. Obviously, went through the story and whatnot on YouTube, but I didn't really experience it to know, oh, okay, these are really important things in Before Crisis. So I would need to go really and replay it if it's ever released. I hope it is. Okay, Josh. I think that would be... I think I'll have to check it out then. Do you mean the location versus world thing? So you think of the worlds, Brian, as ice cubes floating on the body of water river. That is the live stream main flow. They are separate from it, but in variable time will melt into it. Ice cubes floating on the body of the water river. Okay. So you're saying small portions that can be assimilated basically to the live stream. So they are trying to be a bigger thing that is different and sits outside the live stream, but inevitably they just get absorbed by the live stream itself. Is that what you mean? And that they're not big and distinct enough to stand on their own as like big ice cubes? Just follow the reasoning. I think that's, you know, it's a good... I think it's a good analogy. Again, whose memories are these? If that makes sense. I just want them to tell me, this is how the Beagle world was created. If it's the real world, amazing. Just how was it created? When did it start? Sort of. Well, Husho, let me bounce on that because... So, crossing the world and being present in different worlds is not the same thing. Right? And I'll show you why. Because crossing the worlds is this. Boop. Where is it? Where's this guy? Cloud, do the thing. Okay. So this is crossing the worlds. The guy is literally moving between worlds. However, this Aerith here is not crossing worlds. This is her being present in many worlds. And it's a completely different thing. We don't know if she has not... This Aerith clearly knows more than the other Aerith, for sure. Does it mean that this is the Aerith who has crossed over from the temple? Clearly not. I think they even explained that that was not her. So far, the only person we've seen literally in real time cross the worlds, is Cloud. And that's a very, very important distinction. Because we still don't have proof that any of them can do it in real time. Brian's visualizations are on a completely different level. Brian, I'm almost tempted to tell them what you said yesterday about Sephiroth, but I don't want to... I leave you the honor to say it once you feel it's the right time. Because it shocked me. It really... Like, I was like, oh my god, yes. But I'm not going to say it. You're going to have to say it when you are ready. If you decide to say it. Both continuities? Both have this words formable or not? Maybe unique phenomenon remake. That's a great question. Because in your theory, it means that the OG is not one of the 7. We're assuming that there are 7 Beagle stamp worlds. Which begs the question, does the live stream of the OG allow for these possibilities? And if it did, why did we not see them? And if it was just there and we did not see them because it was not expanded on, then how is the remake different in that sense? Do you see what I mean? Why would the remake be different if that is something that could have existed in the OG? If it didn't, what led to the remake having the possibility of these dreams being possible in the live stream compared to the OG, if they are 2 distinct continuities? That is a great question, which I love and respect that, because you literally challenged your own perception, which I think is very positive. Well, listen, seeing fate defied is very subjective. Because Cloud not becoming a puppet for me is the biggest fate that should be defied in Final Fantasy VII. And I think it's the one that was defied already in the original. That's how I see it. And I know that it means different things for different people, which is fine. But again, the story being very individual and personal to Cloud, I think this is how I would personally interpret it. Yeah, and Bunkai, I mean, we talk a lot about time travel. I'm sorry, guys, I'm running very slow on chat, so I try to react. I really love reacting to almost everything as much as possible because I value you guys sharing your thoughts. So if I'm running really behind, tell me. But I'm trying to jump on everything and share my thoughts. But yeah, time travel has not really been... We just talk about time travel when making theories about FF7 Remake. I haven't seen something where it's not just knowledge of the future. Time travel means that we have to see Sephiroth in the year 2000 something. After OG. Thinking about stuff and going back to the OG. That's what time travel would be. Or Cloud going to the future or whatever. But as it stands, it's not really time travel. Especially if it's in the live stream. It's travel of memories and knowledge, which is again a completely different thing than physically traveling from one time, from one era to the other. Just apply the sci-fi logic of time travel to Final Fantasy VII and it breaks down very quickly because you don't have any character doing that as it stands. What's my guess about Part 3? What of the multiverse and the people involved in it? I don't think there is a multiverse to begin with. I think this is all happening in the live stream, which I think is a very vague sentence that means a lot of things to many people within us. I do think that the worlds serve the identity crisis of Cloud, which means that once they are merged, that is the version of Cloud that will stay on. So currently his persona is fractured. There is the Beagle world where he is living his dream of being a soldier. There is the Terrier world where he is not really a soldier. I don't know if he would think he's a soldier in Terrier, but anyways, the Zack inside of him has not died or whatever. A memory of Zack, the possibility of Zack not dying. There is a Chihuahua world where, interestingly, he literally takes on Zack's memories and persona. There is a 2-star and a 1-star stamp world, which we have not seen yet. Very likely there are those two worlds, right? There is the effect that Biggs and Avalanche had on him, and there is also his inability to choose and to save anyone. And so those are things that I'm thinking of when it comes to that. Sorry, give me 1 second. Hey again, everyone. That was my little one waking up and saying hey. She finished Final Fantasy VII Remake at 6-year-old, which was impressive to me. I'm still very proud of that, and she loved it. So I don't expect this to be a multiverse. I don't expect there to be many versions of characters. I think that once it's merged, we will be like, oh, this was all symbolic. Now, what is the symbolic behind it? I think it's about Cloud, and other people think it's about different things. That's how I imagine it. Roland, I wouldn't say that Zack got literally teleported. I hear you. And actually, you're right, because we see him traveling once Sephiroth throws him from the church. So that I agree with. But again, what does Zack represent in the story? If not the alternate persona of Cloud. But I wouldn't say that we saw him. So between world number 4, 5, and 6, I wouldn't say that we saw him travel in real time. So it's not like Zack said, let me go save Cloud, and went to the Shinra building, and then when confronted by the troopers, he decided then to go and save Biggs. That's not what happened. There is one version or one fragment of Zack that went to save Cloud in the Shinra building to meet Hojo. And there's another version of him that went to save Biggs. So this is how I see it. Okay, I'm going to speed up to catch up a bit. I really want to see Modeo Heim as well, Roland. I really hope so. Yeah, there are what ifs, Brian. And the question with memories is whose memories are these? I find that individual memories gives more stakes, whereas collective memories is a bit more, I'm not going to say vague, but I fail to see the impact being the same. But it's equally possible, I would say. Yeah, I do think the Minerva thing with Aerith has been... Was it a case of when you look at the model of Aerith of Minerva in Crisis Core or something. There is Aerith behind her. There was something like that. I don't clearly remember what it was. Okay, Brian. So once we went into the singularity, our protagonists were able to now create dream worlds, essentially, is what you're saying. Yep. Kadaj was sent to the livestream by Aerith. I also think that if Sephiroth returns to the planet, that's what would happen. I don't know if Aerith would literally reach out to him with, you know, holding his hand and whatnot. But I think there could be some Aerith intervention there. The reference to who was speaking in OG after the Temple of Ancients collapsed? No, Brian. I'm talking about Sephiroth getting a piece of knowledge from someone in part 3 and finally realizing what life is. If you see what I mean. All worlds happen at the same time. Memories can travel worlds, not bodies. Right, but then where is everyone? Is my question with it's not time travel, but it's not distinct worlds either. Where is everyone? Where is Cloud? My key question to the sequel understanding is where is Cloud? I don't know if I can convey it in a simpler way, but if this is all happening sometime, where is Cloud? You see what I mean? Where is he? Is he experiencing any of this or not? Like his real consciousness? If this is all metaphorical after everyone died in the live stream, then what's the point? Yeah, I agree, Josh. I don't think it's time travel either. FF14, I haven't played FF14, so I would be a terrible person to ask about this or to answer about this, so I really don't know. But I've heard a lot of people saying, hey, especially on the Sephiroth video. So do you guys think that the Sephiroth things that we went over there in the video are very much like the FF14 stuff? Because, I don't know, I haven't played, obviously without spoilers as much as possible. I haven't played it, so I don't really know. Yeah, but Jesse, so I understand it for you, yes. The thing is, some people run with it, and it's fine. So let me guys tell you what my problem is with the sequel theory. You know, we didn't want to. I think the intention was really not to deconstruct theories or analyze them or whatnot, because I'm literally nobody to do that. But I will just tell you on a personal basis what really annoys me outside of the story, not in terms of explanations within the story, but the problem I have with the suggestion that it's a sequel, and it's actually very simple. Today you have the game releasing on Switch and Xbox, and you have both Remake and Rebirth progressively doing that. You have FF7 being presented to a group of people who would have never played FF7 if it was not released on Switch or Xbox, right? You have people who, it might be a small group, but you have a lot of people still who are not really Final Fantasy fans and very, very far from that kind of franchise, and also buy a Switch, only play on Switch and only play on maybe only play on Xbox. Those people are going to be like, if they read the crazy stuff we put out on YouTube, all of us, myself included, by the way, they would be like, what the hell am I getting myself into? How much knowledge should I have about this game and story before being able to even enter whatever the hell is going on here? So I have not seen people aggressively saying you should absolutely play the original before enjoying Rebirth or Remake. But I have seen some Reddit posts where you have someone asking, hey, is it really necessary to know anything about the OG before playing Remake or Rebirth? And the answers were conflicting. And this is where it hit me, and I was like, this is a bit of a problem, because you are, I'm not going to say gatekeeping, but you are just at the very least, even harmlessly, telling people who have never experienced the story, hey, there are a lot of things you're missing and you will not be able to either understand it or enjoy it the same way. Now, I know that the counterpoint to that is it's still giving you the same experience. And I'm sorry, I disagree. Because for me, the FF7 experience is literally how it ended, with Cloud's journey, the party's journey, and the consequences that were there in the original game. So that the FF7 journey is from the bombing mission to the 500 years flash forward thing. So if you change a major thing there, and I know that people mean different things by changing the story, but as long as it ends the same way, I'm completely fine with it. But if we start saying that, okay, now because it is a sequel, it has to lead to something different, which means that we don't get Advent Children or the follow-up to the story, then you can't tell me that those who have not played the story before the remake are getting the same experience. Let me put it this way. If remake does not lead to Advent Children, remake lead into Advent, so OG lead into Advent Children means that the Cloud who is portrayed in Advent Children is a result of what happened in the OG. The remake not lead into Advent Children would mean that the Cloud we get at the end of remake is fundamentally different than the Cloud we get at the end of the OG. It means that he has healed from his guilt, unless we assume that he has no guilt at all, which, judging by the fact that he literally thinks he saved Aerith, I think he's gonna have even more guilt than in the original game, in the way it's portrayed at the very least. So there are two possibilities, right? Either Cloud is exactly the same in the same place between the OG and the end of the OG and the end of remake, in which case Advent Children is necessary in his character development and his journey, and even in terms of nailing down the themes. If he is not the same person, then we can't say that those who haven't played the game have had the same FF7 experience, unless Advent Children is literally the last part of the story. Do you think that different Zacks or memories of him are still around for part 3? Absolutely. I think, well, there is clearly a Zack that we see in the church. I think that by the end of part 3, Zack is back in the live stream. It depends on how much they show from Advent Children, because I still think that after Advent Children, it is implied that Zack and Aerith can rest. But at the same time, those are not really Zack and Aerith. Those are Zack and Aerith's avatars within Cloud. Those are the memories of them that he carries within his heart. So I wouldn't really say that they were still lingering around in the live stream, except Aerith, because she says she needs to pay attention to Sephiroth's actions. So I think Zack has already returned to the live stream from his own point of view, which is another big problem, because from Zack's memories, he only remembers having already died. So there is a big paradox, and let's talk about this for a minute. Yeah, exactly, Bonke. If everyone is dead, then who remembers Sephiroth, right? Right, let me get you guys all emotional for a minute. Hopefully the YouTube thing is not acting out, because it was not collaborating before. So this is what Zack remembers, right? And I'm really curious to know if anyone has a fix or a solution for this. The memories of the real Zack are this. Do you notice something? He's already dead. He's already talked to Cloud and all this kind of stuff, right? Okay, and he moves on. Those wings, I want them too, blah, blah, blah. Now, what are the memories of remake Zack? Where do they start? Or, actually, Zack saved in Rebirth, I think, is when he explains to Biggs how he was saved. Right? So Zack doesn't remember the same things. So the Terrier Zack and ending of Crisis Core Zack don't remember the same things. And that's a big problem, because, again, what are the memories of the real Zack? You see what I mean? And that's where the stakes break down for me. I would love to have one version of events. And if we're saying that the remake is what will bring the version of events, then it means that the OG was just one version of events. And we go back to, well, then we've never experienced Final Fantasy VII. We're literally just experiencing it now, which is fine if that's what it is. But I don't think that's how they've been framing it, right? In terms of interviews and whatnot. Right, Brian. So on the sequel thing, I understand the problem with first-timers being deterred or lost the notion they would need to play the OG. And you know, I agree, and I would say that it's not only the fact that some people tell them, hey, you should play it. It's also the fact that some people are like, they just see how much discourse there is. It's almost like you need so much to understand the story. It's not like you need to play the OG, but it's like, I will need to, when I finish the game, I will need to go into a million theory videos to even make sense of the story. Which, maybe I'm part of the problem in. Maybe I'm also guilty of this. Trying to make theory videos, so I don't know. I think if remake is FF7 at heart and likely made possible by OG reference in OG, and it feels okay to me that it might be different and different loop. I don't know if I agree with that, Brian. I think that's a bit different. Not to repeat the word too much, but we go back to what is FF7. You'll need to give me 5 minutes. 1 second. Oh, I'm gonna leave you guys to enjoy some music. And we're back. Yeah, Jesse, so this is... Yeah, so if they're not getting the same experience, then... I mean, I can understand not enjoying the story in the same level. Or in the same way, because clearly there is this meta conversation from the story with us. But... not getting the same experience at all is for example, he's saying, we want to bring this story to more people. We want more people to experience Final Fantasy VII, which is why we're doing all this stuff on Switch and Xbox. Does it sound like they are fine if half the people don't FF7, whereas the others do? Okay, I think this might be working better now. I don't know about the camera, though. You guys might be hearing me. Possibly. Hey everyone, you might be hearing me, so I'm trying to get this. So everything is in theory working fine, but the camera is refusing to come back at all, which is why I'm struggling to bring it up again. Hopefully it does. Let's see. Okay. Looks like it might be back, actually. I don't know how long it's going to be until it's off. But if you guys are still here, just let me know. And thanks a lot for everyone who stayed here. Even everyone who chatted since the beginning. This was and is still a very nice conversation. It's actually better than what I intended in terms of just going through the comments statically. But having it in an interactive way is much better. I think it should be up if everything is fine. Let me just recenter the camera a bit. There's something strange with the camera. Yeah, not sure what it was, but it should be up now. Now, I don't think I'll, just to make sure this is safe, I'm not going to go back to YouTube, so we're going to do it the very old way. Just with music and chill conversation. This is assuming everything is fine. Amazing, Ben. You can see me. Is everyone okay? So if everything else is coming fine, we can resume. I'm actually not sure what we were chatting about before everything happened. Yeah, so we were talking about the OG thing. So going back and playing the OG is a huge ask for some people. Absolutely. And you know, you can't be promising people, hey, you will be getting the same experience as the original game. If this literally just is a completely different story and you can't get the same beats, emotional beats that is, as the original game. Now, listen, I'm going to give an example because I know that people are like, I know that we have, when we say emotional beats, we think about different things, right? So something like Aerith's death. And when I just started talking about this stuff online, there were a lot of people saying, hey, you just want Aerith dead. Which is I do want the story to end the same way, which unfortunately the writers have decided this is how it needs to be. But at the same time, you know, it doesn't mean that the story can't work with her not dying. It just means that you have to understand that her dying is not necessarily about her, it's about the message. Because it's a character at the end of the day. So we're not talking about you actually wanting someone in real life to die. Thankfully, we are talking about a video game character. So you need to understand what the implied message behind that is. And its consequentiality and how definitive it is. This does not mean that you will start to build understandings and interpretations where you're forcing her to have the same fate or whatnot. But it's just really about understanding how some things which have consequences, especially in a story like FF7, will have to be the same to hit the same emotional beats. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Je profite de ça. Amazing. Thank you so much. I also, I enjoy talking to you all. So this was fun and it's still fun. Yeah, Bonkai. And what is the FF7 continuity? This is what we keep coming back to, right? Brian, you want me to, I don't have content chat, so we want to share it here. Yeah, listen, it might come up in one day. It's just, I really loved it. I mean, I was kind of joking if you didn't want to share it, or if it didn't come in terms of its own, I would say organically. But I just really loved it. And it was like an aha moment where it's like, oh my god, of course. Anyways, I'm not going to spoil it. I think you will still want to share it. Not necessarily in terms of content, but just, share it with people you discuss the game with. I think that it's... So just to give you guys an idea, it's about Sephiroth's relationship with what he thinks is his mother. And there is something there, right? And so you can run with that idea. And I think you can very easily figure it out, given that we framed it this way. I don't think well, I'm sure I skipped over some messages. I'm so sorry, guys, if I did that. I tried to make sure that we discussed into everything that we were talking about. I forgot which dev, but at least one has said story still leads into AC. I think that's been confirmed quite a lot. I know that a lot of people have been saying link up means a different thing. We have to take into account that there is literally a translation, not barrier, but there is a step, which is translation between them. So... Right, so when we say link up, we need to analyze how precisely they wanted it to be conveyed as link up in Japanese. Maybe they did, maybe they did not. But we can't just take a word and infer. We have to overanalyze this specific word. And this specific word means that it does not necessarily have to lead to it. That specific word could be just the best translation that the English localization team found. Used to be purist, but now my stance has changed. But if you read my story, go into it with an open mind. Absolutely will. Death is best in a story when it has purpose. And Aerith's death definitely does. And I agree, Josh, of course. And I will add, if you have life and death, so here's the thing with multiverse again. If you have life and death, there needs to be one version of events. I know this sounds like a very blunt shortcut, but death means nothing if you can be alive and dead in multiple variations, obviously. But it also means nothing if even if you die in multiple worlds, that death is, you could either understand it as fate is being reinforced, just like Zack in the Dream World. He literally runs into the Shinra troopers every single time, so it's a stronger theme. But you could also understand it in the sense of it's become a bit less. I'm going to say it's become undermined if it just keeps happening that way. For me, the most important thing about death in Final Fantasy VII is to remember that there is one chance. And that unfortunately some people died within that specific version of events. And it happens to be a few people, few characters, which, I can understand wanting to and forming an attachment to the fates of those characters. But this is why video games are beautiful. It's because you form these attachments and it becomes serious and people really defend it very aggressively. And I know it kind of come across as a bit too aggressive at times and maybe even, well, not well intentioned, but I do think it's just literally the power of video games and fiction. So that's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. It's still powerful. It should be controlled. It should be, the attitude should be better in conversations, but that's how the impact of video games is and of fiction on people. I give you my blessing if it comes up in your talks organically. That's a great one. So I'm not sure who has checked out the Dirge of Cerberus stuff, so might do a Dirge of Cerberus stream from the Ever Crisis episodes if I get this stuff up and running without problems, which is easier said than done. But if that happens, then we might do that. Yeah. Cool. Actually, I think that might have been my cue. Because it is getting quite late here. And I am very happy that we did the conversation this way. Have you ever heard of a quantum theory? That in your perception to you never die in your life. You live your entire life. The points in your life you could have died, you actually did. I have not read that, but knowing or hearing what I hear about quantum theory, it makes perfect sense because there's this big thing about it where even people who study it are those who understand it the least because at least they know what they don't understand, or the things that should not make sense but still, or should not work but still work. So I know that it's a very counterintuitive field for a lot of these questions. I have not looked into it specifically, to be completely honest, but I can see how this specific question is something that would be explored there. It's very interesting because you get into multiverse territory, don't you, with that? Because then there are versions of you that actually died. But I don't think, again, that's what really... Because in Final Fantasy VII, you literally have people from two of those possibilities within the same possibility, right? So that possibility is sort of a consensus and not really... And things did not really branch out the way we think, right? Cool. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I think I will cut it short or stop it here. Actually, did not read any comment. This is the first stream where the person doing the stream is promising to read comments on YouTube and did not read a single comment. This is going to go down in YouTube history. However, I do think that a lot of the things we have discussed today and a lot of people that have been here today are exactly the same people whose comments have been great in the last few weeks, months since starting this channel. So once again, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone for tuning in, for watching, for liking, for commenting, for tuning into this stream and staying on even despite the technical issues. Thanks a lot, everyone. I do appreciate all the support to the first two videos because, again, I literally started from nowhere and I was not expecting. This was just more of a thing. Hey, can I do a love letter to Rebirth because I really loved it and I wanted to share that with others, and it grew to become something much bigger than I expected, and I'm extremely happy with that. So very grateful. If you do want to support the channel, so I have recently, very recently, activated memberships and super chats and whatnot. So if you want to contribute and help, that would be very much appreciated. If you want to share the word around so that we get to 1,000 subscribers, hopefully soon, very close now, that would be amazing as well. I would love to hear what you guys want to see explored in terms of the theory stuff. So the next one will be more about... So the ideas I'm thinking about at this moment are we need to look into the worlds. I think we need to have a big deep dive into the dream worlds because it's kind of very confusing and it goes in all sorts of different directions. And there's a lot of Carl Jung in the worlds. Bunkai knows what I'm talking about. And I know he doesn't want to spoil it, but there is a lot of Carl Jung stuff that we need to explore. I am not someone who knows psychology or studied it or anything, but I do want to research it for the purpose of making videos, and not making videos, but just really connecting it to what I'm experiencing with Final Fantasy VII. And it's something that was present even from the original game, by the way, because, you know, Jung is all about identity, conscious, unconscious, and it connects to the collective unconscious, which we could understand to be an inspiration behind the live stream, as Nojima said. So there are those influences that we can think of or research when it comes to the dream worlds and Cloud's identity. But if there are other topics that you guys will want to see explored, feel free to share them with me. And we'll just keep going until what? Summer Games Fest? Is that what we're saying? Hopefully. Right. Few final comments before I tune off. That's in stories. There seems to have been to be a theme in Remake. Yep. Did we get so much in OG focused on taking agency in one's life? I think it's possible some of the OG themes about acceptance and process and loss can or will be expressed in new ways, or by different characters in remakes telling them not sold on the same debts. I agree. However, I think there is something cooking in the background, because when you look at the trials, the amount of emphasis, the amount of emotional value and power that they gave to those moments. Aerith's trial, oh my god. The emphasis on death in Aerith's trial. A child having to go through that is absolutely insane. I still can't go through that scene again. So I think there is something they're preparing in the background. Yeah, absolutely. Having to occur. Yeah, sorry, I did not read the last message, but there has to be something there. Or you're not sold on the same debts. Okay. Well, I might disagree, but I think the emotional beats will have to be replicated. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, it was very fluid, and I think it's much better this way because it's organic. All right, thank you, Travail du Chanson. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. Who was else with her? What else? Thank you, Ryu. Thank you, Sedwitz. Okay, is it Sedwitz? Okay, GU. I remember Shusho was there as well. Kobe. Jesse, not sure if I said your name before. Roland, everyone, thank you so much, guys, for tagging along. Hopefully we do this sometime again soon. Take care of yourself. Hope you have a great weekend, a great evening or afternoon or whatever in the world you are. And take care and be well, and see you soon. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and bye-bye until next time.